Hello, everyone, and welcome to EDU 3285 Perspectives in Literacy Research. I'm Jennifer Hoffman, your instructor. In this course, we'll focus on quantitative statistics or quantitative methods, described by Andy Field, a noted author on the subject, as inferring evidence for a theory through measurement of variables that produce numeric outcomes. I like to think of statistics as learning a language. Statistics has its own vocabulary, rules, and interpretations. It sometimes helps to think of statistics in terms of your own story, your own research interests, and real-world experiences. So to introduce statistics to you and Erdan's first chapter of our course textbook, I'll tell you a little bit about my story through a quantitative statistics lens. My mother is Canadian and felt it was very important for me to learn to speak French while she was raising me in the United States. So I might wonder if women and men living in the United States feel it is important to learn another language besides English. Here's an example of a study I might initially think about conducting, adapted from our course textbook by Erdan. If any of the terms I use are unfamiliar to you, please don't worry. They are also explained in the first chapter of our course textbook by Erdan. I created an expanding glossary for you with all the statistics terms you need to know for this week as well. You can find it on Blackboard in the Week 1 folder in Content and on a tab on the home page that says Stats Glossary. The glossary will expand each week as you learn new statistics terms. This way, if you need a reminder of a statistical term, you can easily look it up. So here's our study example. Suppose I want to know whether adult men and women in the United States differ in their attitudes about the importance of learning another language besides English. I select a random sample of 200 college undergraduates, 100 men and 100 women from around the country. And I ask them if they feel it is important to learn another language besides English. 60% of the men in my sample report that they feel it is important to learn another language besides English, and 65% of the women report that they feel it is important to learn another language besides English. Here are some important questions and terms about my study. What is the dependent variable? Dependent variables measure the effect of the independent variable. An example of a dependent variable might be test scores or ratings on a questionnaire. So the dependent variable for this study would be attitudes about learning a second language, or whether one feels it is important to learn a second language besides English. What is the independent variable in this study? Our independent variable is gender. This is a non-experimental study, so the IV, or the independent variable in this study, is an attribute or measured independent variable. The independent variable in this case cannot be manipulated, yet it is a major focus of the study. It is a pre-existing attribute of the participants. Other examples of attribute or measured independent variables are level of parental education, socioeconomic status, age, ethnicity, and self-esteem. How is our independent variable measured? The scale of measurement for our independent variable is nominal or categorical. In this case, we have nominally scaled variables, meaning the variables have different categories, male or female. I said that I selected my sample randomly. This means that every member of the population, in other words, every adult man and woman in the United States, had an equal chance of being selected to be in the sample. What is the population in my study? Population refers to an individual or group that represents all the members of a certain group or category of interest. Adult men and women in the United States would be our population for this study, or you could think of it as having two populations, adult women in the United States and adult men in the United States. What is my sample? A sample is a subset drawn from the larger population. So my sample for this study example would be 200 college undergraduates, half female, half male from around the country, or 100 women and 100 men, if you think about it as having two samples. Do you think the sample is a good representation of the population? Here we're trying to generalize, meaning we're trying to use the results of data collected from a sample to reach conclusions about the characteristics of the population or any other cases that are not included in the sample. So you might think, no, university students, especially undergraduates that were in the study, tend to be younger than most adults living in the United States. They may have less work experience, they may not be as knowledgeable about whether second languages are needed in the workplace in the United States today. Our sample doesn't include people who have not attended college and they may have a different perspective. Now let's say I wanted to study the effect of a new teaching method as compared to a traditional or older teaching method to see which method is more effective. I'd administer a pretest and a post-test, the pretest before the intervention and the post-test afterwards. So in this study, I'd have an active or manipulated independent variable. According to Morgan, Leach, Glockner, and Barrett's 2013 statistics text, with an active or manipulated independent variable, from the participant's perspective, the situation is manipulated. In randomized experimental and quasi-experimental studies, there is an active independent variable. Each Tuesday, I'll post a weekly folder on Blackboard. If you go to the left side of the screen on our course homepage, you'll see content, where I'll post the weekly folder each Tuesday. There you'll find all the information you need to complete your assignments. For this week, your assignments include reading our course syllabus, reading Chapter 1 in our course textbook, the 4th edition of Statistics in Plain English by Erdan, reading Duke and Martin's 2011 article about the importance of reading and understanding research, reading Phillips' 2015 National Public Radio segment about quantitative research in education, reading ways to understand and analyze research articles as well as learn about conducting a literature review, and reading a chart describing what typically constitutes a research study. Your graded assignments include statistics problems due Monday based on our first chapter of Erdan's textbook. You'll find the problems and directions for completing them in your Week 1 content folder. We also have 2 discussion forums. In the first discussion forum, you'll introduce yourself and post your little introduction and responses by Monday, September 11th. You also have a second discussion forum where you'll respond to the research that you're reading and articles about research. And I ask that you please post your initial response to the discussion question by Thursday, September 7th, and then respond to one classmate's post by Monday, September 11th. Our mini proposal project, or MPP, is our last graded assignment. Part of the MPP is applying what you have read about literature reviews. There are 11 steps for the MPP, and these bringing the steps down into 11 steps or multiple steps definitely will make it easier for you than trying to do it in one large task. Step 1 of the mini proposal project, or MPP, is due on Monday. And you'll begin the literature review process by finding one research article or study aligned with your area of interest and describe it in the organizational table provided for you. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns about the course or the assignments, please reach out to me after you've read through our content folder and listened to the videos. And if you have any questions, email me. I'll respond as soon as possible. And if you still have further questions, we can easily set up a chat so I can make sure that you understand everything. I look forward to reading your responses, and I hope that you have a wonderful week. Thank you.